An additional 250 cubic feet per second of water was released from Bowman Dam May 1st through the 4th. Doing so raised the level of the Crooked River a couple of feet and increased the stream flow. The goal was to encourage salmon and steelhead smolts released from these acclimation cars in Ochako Creek near Prineville to move downstream to Lake Billy Chinook.
Higher flows is kind of a physical stimulus for them to move downstream. You know, additionally to them just physically being moved downstream, it's a cue that salmonids typically use in the spring, those spring freshets, to move fish downstream. So it kind of mimics a natural spring freshet.
One previous pulse flow event was attempted in 2016, but that was a high water year and the results were inconclusive.
Whereas here, when the base flow is so low, that 250 CFS may be enough. And what it may show us is that on high water years, maybe we won't get, maybe we don't try and release that water and generate that pulse. But on low water years, where we typically have a hard time getting fish to move downstream anyway, we may get more benefit from that pulse.
Biologists use a series of traps to determine if the pulse flow event stimulates salmon and steelhead smolts to move downstream.
How does it work? Fish don't know the trap is there, and before they know it, they're in a box.
They're in there,
yeah.
And it turns, and you can see kind of baffles in there that funnel down and deposit them, if you will, in a live car in the back. And we're able to access that, climb on top of the screw trap and open a door and get the fish out. And then Gonzalo and Nate here are processing their fish.
1973.
They're looking at them, getting lengths and weights, identifying species, looking for pit tags to see if they are from the release that we did on Thursday. We hope to capture them again at the tower there in the forebay, Round Butte forebay in Billy Chinook. And then from there they'll be collected and then transported down Pelton Round Butte project and released in the lower Deschutes River, where they'll continue their out-migration to the ocean and then hopefully come back as adults.
Portland General Electric, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the United States Fish and Wildlife Service are increasing the number of fish planted and conducting more sampling of fish movements. It's all part of an effort to reintroduce salmon and steelhead runs into the Crooked, Deschutes, and Metolius rivers above the Pelton Round Butte hydroelectric project.
Right now we're using smolt releases, but once we start getting natural reproduction, the behavior of those fish and the questions that were asked could be completely different, because the wild fish could respond differently than a hatchery fish. And so the same questions we're asking and trying to answer now, we may have to ask them again in the future, which will require this information.
Schrader says the reintroduction effort is proving to be a lot more intricate and involved than people thought when the project began 10 years ago. Not only are there behavioral differences between salmon and steelhead, there appears to be significant habitat differences in each tributary, which may require specialized release strategies in each location.
When do fishermen get to fish these things, if ever?
Harvest them and fishing them are two different things. I mean, we've had anglers catch steelhead in the Crooked for past 5 or 6 years. Of course, they have to release them. But until there is sustainable numbers, there won't be any harvest, but that is the ultimate goal.
Adult returning steelhead are tagged with radio transmitters and their movements are tracked. Schrader says a handful of adult steelhead have returned to the Crooked River and traveled upstream as far as Bowman Dam, ready to smash the tackle of anglers expecting the average 12-inch trout. I'm Brooks Snavely for The Great Outdoors.